A week ago, my life has changed drastically for the better, and I just really want to share that with you in case any of you are struggling exactly with the same thing that I was, and I really hope that that will help. Hi, I'm Greta. I have a 7-month-old baby girl, Amelia. As you can see by the title of this video, today we will be talking about the gentle sleep training and how this whole experience has been for me. Just to jump ahead a bit, my life can't be any better now. I can't even explain to you, so let me just share with you everything that's happened. Since Amelia was a newborn, I always used to feed her to sleep because I just thought that was the most natural way of putting my baby to sleep. It just felt so good. I always would just go to bed, we would do the nighttime routine, but then she would just come to bed with me, and then I would just put her to feed, and then she would just feed until she's asleep. It always used to be a challenge to transfer her, but when she was a newborn, she was very sleepy, so it wasn't really challenging. But as she got older, it got harder and harder. Now, of course, our babies go through so many developmental changes and other things. You know, your baby might be teething or anything like that. So all these things really impact our baby's sleep. However, it really got to the point that my little one woke about 10 to 15 times per night, every single night. Her naps used to be about half an hour long, if so. And so she was always very tired. I was exhausted to the point that I actually had to sleep whilst I was sat, just because she used to wake so many times. So by the time she would fall asleep, within like 15 minutes or so, she would be up again. I just literally had no other way. The only way to sleep was just sit, just because I didn't feel confident enough to co-sleep. First of all, our bed was not prepared. We didn't have any barriers. I stay with my fiance as well, and we have 2 dogs. So I just didn't feel like it was safe for her to be sleeping next to us. So that was my only option. It was hard, you probably can't imagine, but it was honestly so hard. I think everything really changed for us when the 4-month sleep regression hit. Up until that point, she used to wake about 4 or 5 times, which was actually quite good for me. Like, I didn't think that that was really bad. I was still able to get some sleep, and I didn't think too much of it. But then since the 4-month sleep regression, everything changed for the worse, and we've kind of never come out of it. And I just kept hoping, like, oh, maybe there is another leap, maybe there is something else going on. Oh, now it's a fussy stay. And I just constantly hoped that that day is gonna come when her sleep is just gonna go back to at least those 4 or 5 wakes per night, but it didn't happen. And I was actually suffering like this for like maybe about 2.5 months, and it was very challenging. Sleep training was not even a thought in my head, because since I got pregnant and since I looked into them, but not really well, I was always very against sleep trainings, just because I just thought, first of all, it didn't feel natural to me. Second of all, I really didn't want my baby to cry. All these methods, Fairbairn's method, or just let the baby cry out until they fall asleep, it just felt so wrong to me. And I remember maybe about 3 weeks ago now, I spoke to my friend that I thought, I just really have to do something. And she suggested the pick up put down method. And I thought maybe I'll just give it a go. I tried for 1 day, and it was just so hard mentally that I just cried throughout. And at the end, like after an hour and a half, I just gave up. And I still fed my baby to sleep. Another 2 weeks passed, and I was still continuing waking up multiple times per night. During the day, she was so exhausted constantly just because of those very short cat naps. I just thought, enough is enough. I really have to do something to help my daughter as well as to help myself, and we need to find a way to come out of this. I looked into that pick up put down method again, but I looked into that a bit more thoroughly, and I found a tip that I've changed comparing to the first time that really helped me not only mentally, but also I was just able to actually go through that process and complete it. So let's just go back to the beginning, and I'll explain everything that I did to achieve an amazing result in only 2 days. I remember that day came and my fiance came back home, and I did all this research, and I just sat down with him and I said, we need to make a massive change. Up until that point, our little girl slept in our bedroom. She had her own cot that we were able to fit in the bedroom next to the bed, but she always used to be in our bedroom. So the first thing that I decided to do was to move her to her own bedroom at the same time, because I thought, if we're already doing the sleep training, maybe it's just worth doing that anyways. When babies hit 8 or 9 months, this is when the separation anxiety may begin. And I thought, if I don't move her to her own bedroom now, I might not be able to do that for a couple of years. And I didn't want to do that. And I thought, if I tried to move her then, it would actually cause even more issues. That's why it just did feel like a right decision to try and do this at the same time while sleep training. We also need to make sure that we had the blinds ready. The room has to be dark. And at that stage when we decided to move it, we actually didn't have the blinds installed yet. So we just had to be creative and like come up with a way how we can actually cover the window to make sure that it's dark every time she has to have a nap. Once that was done, we also moved the sound machine and the little light to her own bedroom, and the whole sleep training we started at night. Day one, our baby usually goes to sleep at 6:30. That day we were a bit late and we started the whole routine at 7. So what I started doing was, Amelia takes a bath every second day at the moment. So on that day when we decided to do the sleep training, she wasn't taking a bath. So we dimmed all the lights, we put the sound machine on about 15 minutes before we were planning to put her to bed. We then changed her into a new nappy, fresh PJs, put a sleep bag on, sat down on the rocking chair, and my fiance read a book for her. Once she finished with the book, I then took over. I dimmed the lights even more. My fiance left the room. I fed her on the rocking chair until she was very full. I then held her in my arms. I slightly rocked her and I put her down in the cot. For the first maybe 15 minutes or so, she actually didn't even cry. I had my monitor with me as well as my phone, because for this process you will need a timer. After around 15 minutes or so, she started whining a bit. Now, the whole idea of how I was doing the sleep training was every single time she would start crying, I would wait 100 seconds, because that really helped me comparing to the first time when I tried to do that. So I set the timer and I waited exactly 100 seconds to see if she would be able to calm down herself. If that was not the case, I would go back into the room, I would pick her up, hold her in my arms. If I need to rock or if I need to shush, if I need to sing, anything that I needed to do to make her calm again. And as soon as she was calm, I put her down in the cot again and left the room. Now, this was already a massive change because Amelia was very used to that. Every time she cries, she would go back on my boobies. So that was already very different. However, I was able to calm her down and place her back in the cot. This whole process took about an hour on the first night, so it wasn't that bad as I expected. When she was asleep, she then woke up after an hour, which was again very usual to us because she would wake every single hour during the night. When she woke up, I picked her up, I shushed her, I made her calm, and then I placed her down. But every single time when she starts crying, I wait that 100 seconds before I enter the room, because this was my way of giving her a chance to calm herself down. Because the previous time when I did that for one day, which was every time she would start crying, I would straight away pick her up. And the massive difference was that then it got to the point that she would just not settle down at all. And the moment I would just try to lean and put her down in the cot, she would start crying hysterically. So mentally, it was extremely challenging. Like, I was constantly crying during that process. Second of all, she didn't really understand what I was trying to do just because she didn't have a chance to try and settle down herself. By following this process, what I was doing now, she actually was able to learn how to soothe herself in case she starts crying, or just in general how to be able to fall asleep herself. So when she woke, I followed exactly the same process. It took again an hour to be able to put her down to sleep. But when she was asleep, then she didn't wake up until 3 o'clock in the morning. And just that was already so shocking for me, because she then slept about 5 hours uninterrupted at all. And I thought, oh my goodness, how is that even possible? Just by doing that for a few hours, literally making that one change, now she was able to sleep for that much longer. And I did look at the monitor a few times and I did see her moving and even opening her eyes, but then she was able to put herself down to sleep, which was already a massive, massive change. Then when she woke up, I changed her, I fed her, and then it took about 2 hours for me to be able to put her down to sleep. But you know what? I was honestly ready for that night. We planned in the way that my fiance would be at home the next day. In case I get no sleep at all during that night, I thought I'll be able to sleep during the day. When she was asleep, then she slept until 8:30, which was very unusual because normally she would wake at 6:30. But considering how long she was up during the night, it was very understandable. So I was able to get quite good sleep, as well as she was able to get quite good stretch from 5 o'clock as well. I was committed. Once I saw already this massive difference, and I thought, okay, now let's see how the day nap's gonna go and then what's gonna happen. And I'm kidding you not, the change that I'm gonna tell you now was just something unbelievable. So at the end, she ended up having 2 naps that day, just because she did sleep 2-hour intervals for both naps. Literally after following this process for one night. I was amazed. And the first time it took half an hour for her to be able to fall asleep. And then the second nap took 15 minutes and she didn't even cry. Not even once. She was literally just able to go back and put herself to sleep. Day 2, so this was the time when we included the bath time into our routine as well. The second night, this was when I noticed a massive difference comparing to the first night. We followed exactly the same process and she was able to put herself down to sleep within half an hour. And during that half an hour, I only had to go into the bedroom twice to help her out to soothe herself, because I was in such a big disbelief that in literally pretty much one day you can make such a massive difference. And then during that night, she only woke once at 10:30. I changed her, I fed her, and then she went back to sleep, and she slept until 6:30. I woke up shocked. I had my monitor. I kept waking up during the night just to see, because I think I could not believe that she was constantly sleeping. When I say my life has changed, it doesn't even, like, the words don't describe how I feel. Those of you moms that have gone through this and you know how difficult it is when your baby, first of all, needs to be fed to sleep, second of all, just doesn't sleep very long or doesn't have very good sleep in general, you really understand what I mean. But just the quality of my life and the quality of the time that I can spend with her because I'm rested has changed just drastically. The next naps, again, she put herself down to sleep within 15 minutes. Once she cried just twice. It wasn't even a cry, it was just like whining. So I actually didn't even have to go into the bedroom. And then the second nap, she did cry a bit, so I had to go back in. But again, just following the same process, it just didn't feel so hard anymore. And she was just at such a better place as well. And now going forward, it's been now, I think, about a week. Every single time, it's not really challenging anymore. I have to admit, there are some nights that it's a bit more difficult to put her down to sleep, and it does take a bit of time for her to settle down. So I have to go back into the bedroom a few times just to hold her and hug her or something, just to help her calm down. But as soon as I do that, she settles down very quickly. And the best part, that every single nap now is at least 2 hours. I had several days that I had to wake her up from her nap just to make sure that we actually can fit into our routine, because otherwise she would just not go to sleep until, I don't know, 8 or so, and that was just too late for us. In case you're still wondering, obviously I don't know if that would work for every single baby, but for us that did. And that was just the best thing ever. And I think we managed to catch that just before the separation anxiety. So I really would highly encourage anyone that you're still thinking, look into this and just try. Just be brave, but just try, because your life is going to change. Your baby's life is going to change. And you'll find time for yourself again. And the fact that she moved into her own bedroom, it wasn't even a big deal for her at all. And now I think she sleeps better without me being there as well. Maybe that smell of milk, that babies can smell. And just before I end it, I just want to share a few more tips that really helped us during this process that might help you as well in case you're planning to do it. Those times, especially that first night when it was quite a while until she was able to settle down, a few things that really helped me was, if I placed her down and she would start crying again, I would turn her to the side and then I would rub her back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and do shh. And I did that for quite a while, and then she would become a bit more sleepy, but she would not cry again. And by avoiding picking her up every single time and trying to incorporate that, I think that helped as well. Because sometimes when you do pick up the baby, you can wake them up again. Another thing, just try to get some patience, because especially the first night, it is going to be challenging. I actually had my fiance literally next to me, and I said, I just need you for moral support. He sat on the bed with me. We had the monitor, we had the phone next to us. There was a point where I actually wanted to give up, but I just said, just don't let me give up. Just let me go through this, because I know it's going to be better for all of us. And he was literally there. He was just holding my hand. If you can, and you have someone that can be there for you as well whilst you're going through this process, because it is going to help you, especially mentally. And last thing, just think about the outcome that you want to achieve and just have your goal in your mind, because that's really gonna help you to stay committed to the process and not give up. It might take 2 weeks for someone. The fact that it took me just 2 days, it doesn't mean that for you it might take the same amount of time. But don't forget that if you follow this process, at some point it's still gonna work. Just try not to give up, and don't be discouraged if it doesn't work really well very quickly. In case you're going through the same thing and you need that help, I really hope that this is going to work for you as well, and you'll be able to get your life back. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this information helped. In case you have any questions or anything that you want to ask me how our process went, and maybe I didn't mention certain things in the video, just please leave the comments down below, and I'll be more than happy to help you or share my own experience. And now I'll see you next time. Bye!